Welcome 8A students. We are problem solvers and we've been solving problems in chapter 2, solving equations. Today we're going to solve absolute value equations. I think you've heard of absolute value before. I know you know what an equation is. Today we're putting those two ingredients together. So we're going to be solving equations like this. Now, if you don't remember right off the top of your head what those little vertical lines mean, then it might be a good idea to go review what absolute value means and refresh your memory on what that means about positives and negatives and that kind of stuff. But let's start with this first equation. Solve the absolute value of x equals 16. Remember, the solution to any equation is the value that makes the equation true. So what number could you put here that would make this equation a true statement? Well, the absolute value of 16 is 16. That's true. But also, the absolute value of negative 16 is 16. That's still a true statement as well. So what that means about the solution, the value of x, is x could equal 16 or negative 16. And you can write it as two separate solutions, or you can just put x equals plus or minus 16. I guess some equations can have two solutions. We know that equations can have no solutions or infinitely many solutions. Now we've seen that equations can have one solution or even two solutions. Wow. All right, so we checked off that equation. We're going to make it a little bit more complex here. The absolute value of x plus 1 equals 9. Now again, we're going to ask what would make this equation true. So we know that the absolute value of 9 is 9. That's true. We know that the absolute value of negative 9 is 9. That's true. What that means is that x plus 1 must either equal 9 or negative 9. And for this, we're going to have to treat that as two separate equations. X plus 1 equals 9, or x plus 1 equals negative 9. And then we're going to have to solve each equation. So if I'm solving this equation, I'm going to take away 1 from each side. If I'm solving the other equation, I'm also going to be taking away 1 from each side. But it's going to give me two distinct solutions here. 9 minus 1 is 8, and negative 9 minus 1 is negative 10. So we still got two solutions, but it wasn't the same number, just a positive version and the negative version. It's two actually totally different numbers this time. So I guess what we're saying is absolute value equations always have two solutions? Yeah, okay, interesting. So we're basically just solving twice when we're solving absolute value equations. Otherwise, it's the same as solving any other kind of equations. So we're going to practice this, and on these two practice problems, these are out of your textbook, by the way, I'm going to have you pause the video and try to solve number 4. Then we'll talk about it, unpause, and then you can pause the video again, try to solve number 9, then unpause, and we'll talk about number 9. So go ahead and pause the video right now and try number 4. All right, you have now unpaused the video, and you have now tried to solve number 4. And if you solved it, you should have gotten, I put x equals negative 12 or negative 2. That should say n equals negative 12 or negative 2. My bad. Sorry, guys. We can check to make sure that's true by plugging a negative 12 in for n, seeing if it still works, and plugging in a negative 2 in for n and seeing if it still works. But what about this part of the instructions? Then graph the solution set. I don't know if you noticed that, but what is it talking about? Here's what it's talking about. It's talking about a number line. That kind of graphing. Just, all we got to do is, one of the solutions is negative 12, and we're going to put a dot at negative 2 to show those are the two solutions to this equation. So when it says graph the solution set, it just means put some dots on a number line, and you're probably going to have two dots because it's an absolute value equation. All right, so we did this problem. Now we're going to try number 9. If you didn't already try to solve number 9, pause the video, try to solve number 9, And then once you've unpaused the video, let's chat about it. Once you solve it, and you set it up as 5h plus 2 equals negative 8, solve it, 5h plus 2 equals 8, and solve it, you would get these two numbers. But if you're paying really close attention, and if you tried to plug those numbers back in, or maybe if you want to pause this and try to plug those numbers in right now, it doesn't work. These two solutions are fake solutions. They're lying to us. The technical word for that in math is we call them extraneous solutions. But if you plug a negative 2 in, you get the absolute value of negative 8 equals negative 8. That's not true. Can absolute value ever come out negative? No. This equation was lying to us from the beginning. And actually, if we had noticed that, wait a second, it's trying to tell us that the absolute value of something comes out negative, that's impossible. There is no solution to this equation. So not every absolute value equation has two solutions. Sometimes there's no solution. If I had to try to graph the solution set, it's pretty easy because there it is. I graphed the solution set. It's no numbers. There, it's an empty set, right? So sometimes watch out for that little trick. But when you notice that trick, yay for you. You can just write no solution and move on to the next problem. And I think we have now mastered the art of solving absolute value equations. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Good luck on your assignment today.